Hi, I'm Andrea from Zart. Today we're going to be making some nature brushes. With this activity, we are going to explore how paintbrushes were made in the past, and we are going to have some fun going outside and collecting bits and pieces that we find in our immediate area. So we'll need some sticks, we'll need a variety of foliage, maybe some feathers if you find some feathers, just anything that you think might make an interesting mark. As a link to the curriculum, you have a nice history link here. So this picture here is some brushes that they have found in Egypt. So you can see that they have been made with sticks and reeds and strung together with some twine. There's also reference to First Nations and Torres Strait Islander histories and culture. You can really explore what materials our First Nations peoples, and it will vary around the country as well, what materials have been used to create these beautiful artworks. Now, what we will do, I've got a collection of goodies that I fossicked. Some of these are from my garden and some are from my local park. And these sticks are found all over the place where I work, right here. So what we're going to do is just take a stick, take a short length of twine, and then I might use this together, maybe a couple of these, oh no, maybe just one. And then if you pop your thumb down one end and start to wind your string around to keep your branch or leaf or whatever you're using nice and firm, then you can tie a little knot. Now, if you're doing this activity with some of the junior classes that maybe their fingers aren't so great at tying knots and string and holding everything together, then by all means you can use tape. Will make things a lot quicker and faster, but for this project I'm going to try and keep it I suppose a bit more authentic and try and recreate some of those brush techniques that have been used. So these leaves, I'm actually just going to split a little bit with my fingernail and see if I can make something that's a little bit more bristle-like, I guess. I'm just going to run down those. And they kind of look like bristles, so that will be interesting to see the mark that they make. No, whoop, split that one. And I will let's use this stick here. So cut my length of string. Whoop. Group these together. And start winding. You could also do an activity like this by using items that you find around the classroom. It could be a pipe cleaner, it could be a pom-pom, could be a sheet of thick paper, but just playing around with different mark making. And then we'll see at the end if we can actually turn our marks into an image, perhaps a landscape. So now I've got it's going to try and break this bit here. There's a big lump on the end, and I'll try a single gum leaf. I think I might have been over enthusiastic with the length of string I have for this one. Just trim that one because it's a shorter brush. And let's try one more. Let's try some feather. Oh, snap. Actually, I might try this feather because it's looking a little bit like a paintbrush already. So it'll be interesting to see the result that we get with that one. Okay, I'll trim those ends. Okay, I think that's a nice assortment. So now we can play and see what marks we get. Just pop all of that to the side. Okay, let's try our leaf first. Now I'm using some washable watercolors. I will go, let's go green. And let's see. Okay, so we've got sort of a flattened mark going that way. See what happens when we use it on its edge. We can get a nice squiggly line happening on the edge of this one. We can soak the leaf in there and just press it down. Maybe give it a little bit of a jig. We can get some nice big flat areas happening with that. So I would say that this nature brush will be really good for coverage for larger areas. So there's our first one. Now let's see with this one. I might try that one in some black. So this one I'm actually noticing that with some of the hairs on the brushes, oh, that's an interesting, nice streaky effect. Now you can also use, I've used watercolor here, and what I'm finding is that the watercolor is where the leaves are textured, it's not sitting on the leaf as much. So you might find that using an acrylic, a slightly thicker paint might work better, or it might just clump all of the leaves together and you might just get a big blob. But that's a nice, I think it's a nice sort of a streaky look. So there's our second brush. Now let's try, we'll try these. So I will whip those around. Well, this one's going to be flicking all over the place. So that's all nice and have a nice snaking line, more than the last nature brush had. That gives nice longer lines. Interesting. It's going to be fun putting all of these together to create a landscape. And now we'll try our feather. So this one should be the most paintbrush-like. Let's see, yes, definitely a lot more control with a feather. That's a really nice line. Much more like a paintbrush. All right. So now we have our 4 different types of marks that we've made. These 2 are quite similar. The streaky, longer lines. And then we've got our one that we can do a more solid background with perhaps, or more solid areas. And then our feather brush, which looks more like a paintbrush. So let's see what we can create when we combine all of these together. I think I'll give myself a bit more space and use an A3. Now I'm using some cartridge paper, just it's got a bit more rigidity to it. Let me see. I will start with my feather, I think, and I might do maybe some hills in the background. I think this feather works nicely for those sorts of lines, and I might give myself a bit of a horizon line. Maybe shade a little bit of the hill. Add a few shadows. Okay, now I might add in a tree. Let's see what happens if I use this to create a bigger area. And I might mix a bit of green into there as well. Okay. That's kind of like a tree trunk-ish. And now I think I will use this to create some foliage. Let's mix some colours around. Who says we can't have a purple tree? Maybe it's in flower. Maybe it's a jacaranda that's in bloom. I don't know if any of you have jacarandas flowering around Christmas time where you are, but they are always nice. And we'll put a few jacaranda blossoms down the bottom. And now let's use our fronds, and we can maybe drag those across the bottom here to create some texture, some maybe grasses, and add a bit of interest across the back, just there. And then maybe I feel like it needs to be potentially a bit of a moody, stormy day, so we might use these to create some clouds in the sky. There we go, a thunderstorm is coming. It's now turned into a jacaranda at Christmas in a summer storm, I think is the image I'm going for here. I might too go back with my brush and pick up a little bit of green and add a few more hill lines just in the back here. I think could be quite nice. There we go. So I think we can say that it's quite fun. It's a very loose style of painting. It's really fun exploring different shapes and different items and seeing what marks they're actually going to make, and then thinking about a landscape and thinking about how those marks might represent things that you see outside and how you can incorporate those and blend them all together to create a final image. I hope you've had fun with this session. I hope you enjoy your outcomes and enjoy making your nature brushes, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.